This will be the highest-rated thriller you'll watch all year. It opens with a high-stakes apocalyptic death game. Demons descend, powers awaken, a wildly popular pair of leads, tight plot, twist after twist. Impossible to put down. I was the sole reader of this web novel, and yet its author kept updating for 10 years. But on the day the story concluded, everything in its pages came to life in reality. Horrifying monsters and an escalating death game were now crashing down on innocent people. And I, the only reader, was the only person alive who knew how this world would end. Inside a stopped subway car, passengers erupted in mass panic. The next second, an urgent broadcast crackled through the cabin. All passengers, please evacuate immediately. Please evacuate immediately. While people were still trying to figure out what was happening, a red bolt of lightning detonated at the far end of the car, and a fluffy, horned creature materialized before them all. Ladies and gentlemen, your comfortable lives end here. Let the game begin. Nobody took it seriously at first. Everyone assumed it was some elaborate prank show, shouting at the creature to let the train run again. Then the loudest voices vanished into clouds of blood. The entire car went stone silent. Even breathing seemed to stop. Then a man in a sharp suit stepped forward, holding up a large denomination check. Whatever you want. Name your price. Just let me go. The creature's expression softened. The man's thoughts raced, just as I thought. In this world, money opens every door. Then, with a single snap of its fingers, every bill and check in the man's hands spontaneously combusted. These colorful plant fibers mean nothing in my dimension. Worthless paper. Anyone who tries something that's stupid again, my next fire targets your skull. Alright everyone, you've wasted enough time. Now please enjoy the game. Please like, subscribe, share, and support the Mingjing and Dian Dian channel. A multi-chapter novel, and I'd read every word in under 2.5 minutes. I finally understood why Li Haianxiang appeared so early. The novel's events took place in car 3707. I was in car 3708, and only 2 people survived this car. Army Lieutenant Li Haianxiang, and that other person. As the minutes ticked by, the passenger's passivity finally enraged the creature. It slashed the remaining game time from 20+ minutes down to 10. With a warning. If no kill occurred within 5 minutes, everyone would die where they stood. Those words blew Pandora's box wide open. A white-haired young man immediately backhanded an elderly man beside him. This was Kim Naiman, the second survivor of this car. Once someone takes the lead, others follow. No one wanted to die. I watched in silence. Not because I'd lost my humanity like the rest of them, but because I was waiting for the right moment. Then the car lurched violently. I seized the opening and shoved through the crowd. I knocked Kim Naiman flying. Blinking through the smoke, I scanned the panicking crowd, until I spotted the small boy. I reached him, took the insect box from his body, and placed one creature in his palm. Then I spun around and bellowed for everyone to stop. After you kill this old man, who's next? In the end, you'll just keep killing each other. Kim Naiman laughed coldly from the side. Next I'll kill you, coward. I ignored him and kept talking. You don't need to gamble your lives like this. I have a way for everyone to survive. Does anyone remember the exact conditions? The mission says, kill a living thing. It doesn't say kill a person. I reached into the insect box and held up a single ant. Who said it had to be a human? The realization swept through the crowd. The one with the insect box lunged at me. I immediately crushed the bug in my hand, and hurled the box and its contents into the crowd. In that same moment, I completed the mission. 100 gold coins rewarded. The car dissolved into chaos. Everyone scrambling to catch insects. Kim Naiman was unmoved. He laughed and asked if I liked watching this kind of mess. Then his character information appeared in my field of vision. Exactly as described in the novel. A Chunibu teenager with a persecution complex. And then Kim Naiman sent me a party invitation. He wanted to enjoy the slaughter together. If I hadn't read the novel, I'd probably have said yes just to survive. But I had my own path. So I told him I preferred working alone. He wasn't offended. He simply stepped around me and moved back toward the old man. I yanked him away, and that single act detonated his fury. He said he'd thought we were the same kind of person. Now I realize you're exactly the type I hate most. His fist came for me. I barely blocked it in time. This guy had already activated his exclusive skill. Kim Naiman could feel the change in his own body, and grew more frenzied with each strike. At the last possible moment, the system panel flashed. You have unlocked the foundation for exclusive skill. Absolute territory. I activated it without hesitation. From that point forward, every attack Kim Naiman threw, I sensed it before it arrived. He hammered at me for 2.5 minutes straight, and couldn't leave so much as a scratch. As the time limit approached, he abandoned me and refocused on the elderly man. I dived to shield the old man. I had to stop this antisocial lunatic from completing his kill. Then he pulled a knife. If this kept up, he was gonna get me eventually. I had one move left. I crushed the insect egg in my hand. If my guess was right, the next second, notification after notification flooded in. Kim Naiman came slashing toward us with the knife. At the last instant, I poured every reward coin into boosting my physical stats. With each stat alert, my body hit levels it had never reached before. Kim Naiman's knife arrived directly at our chests, and wouldn't go in. He couldn't understand it. He stabbed at my chest over and over, 30-40 times, and still couldn't pierce even a single layer of skin. I said coldly, "Did you really think you'd adapted to this world's rules? Did you really think you had it figured out?" The final countdown appeared before everyone. Kim Naiman detonated in front of me. Fury and terror in equal measure. The first stage of the main quest ended. Car 3708. 5 survivors. Army Lieutenant Lee Hyun-seong. Coworker Yu Sanghwa. Insect Boy Lee Gil-yong. Glasses Guy Han Myung-woo. And me, the only one who knew how this world ended. As the train began to move, everyone assumed they were finally going home, only to find the world outside had already been torn apart. I alone knew. The old world was gone. A new one was being born. Then golden light flashed, and the fuzzy creature reappeared. The handful of survivors left impressed it. More than I expected. Since you've overcome hardship, you've earned what's coming. You are now eligible for sponsorship from the Constellations. The Constellations, the most mysterious entities in the novel's world, watching this death game broadcast from their perches at the top of distant nebulae. I was intensely curious which constellation would choose me. With one snap from the creature, new messages arrived in everyone's mission windows. Select your backer star. My options made me blink. For constellations were already offering to back me. That other person had only received one invitation. My performance in the first stage had drawn serious attention. These constellations wouldn't reveal their real names, but I'd read the novel cover to cover. I already knew who they were. The pregnant swallow of good luck. A powerful nebula leader. A beast with tremendous early power, though limited to early stages, unfortunately. This one had an ominous name, but his true identity was the great Archangel Uriel, Judge of Evil. The secretive plotter. Surprisingly secretive, even to me. First time I'd ever seen this option. Probably not among the most powerful. But then the fourth name appeared. My heart stopped. Of all the constellations, this one was extending an invitation this early. You'll know why anyone watching right now would lose their composure. Master of the mountain of flowers and fruit. Fiery eyes and golden pupils. The Monkey King, the great sage equal to heaven. Sun Wukong. If I chose him as my backer star, could we actually beat that other person? Everyone chose their backer star. The creature dropped one line. "See you in 10 minutes," and vanished. Then Lee Hyun-seong came over and took my hand. "Thank you. Without your signal, none of us would have made it." He asked what I thought we should do next. Clearly my performance had earned me a measure of his trust. I told him we needed to leave immediately. Everyone stared. Monsters everywhere outside. Leaving now was walking straight into a lantern with scissors. Just then the rear car door shuddered with a thunderous impact. Standing behind that iron door was the sole survivor of Car 3707, the true protagonist of the original novel. A regressor who would do anything to reach his goals. Aside from me, he was the most knowledgeable person in this world. I urged everyone to run now, because if we waited for the next scenario to start, we'd all be dead. Lee Hyun-seong hesitated. "The person behind that door isn't necessarily our enemy, is he?" I said flatly. "He survived by killing a lot of people. Are you sure you want to wait for him to walk in?" Everyone frantically searched for an exit. The only door was a stuck iron gate. The pounding from the next car was growing louder. If he got through, he would cheerfully use us all as experience points. I looked at Lee Hyun-seong. In the novel, he was a physical tank, pure strength. Use your skill. Now. He looked completely lost. Not because he didn't understand me. He knew he had a skill, he just didn't know how to use it. I told him, just think it. The skill will activate. He didn't argue. He focused on the iron door, then let out a roar and physically tore it open. We didn't hesitate. We sprinted out. But we'd barely cleared the car when the creature reappeared and issued the second mission. Cross the broken bridge within 20 minutes. Failure. Unknown. The bridge looked completely intact from where we stood. I screamed for everyone to run. If the mission said broken, it would break. Sure enough, before we'd gone far, a massive whirlpool opened on the river below. A colossal sea dragon erupted from the water. At the same moment, the dead came back, zombies surging toward us from every direction. As everyone froze in stunned horror, the sea dragon reared and bit the bridge in half. One clean snap, Li Haiyanxiang and Li Gilyong made it across. Yu Sanghua and Han Myungwoo were stranded on the other side. While I was thinking through options, Yu Sangua's backer star activated, and the severed bridge reformed into a light bridge that could only be crossed 2 at a time. 3 people. 1 too many. Before I could act, a fist came screaming at me from behind. I pivoted, kicked to create distance. An ordinary zombie wouldn't be much of a threat. But this was Kim Naiman, reanimated. Zombies grow stronger based on the host's power. Before I could think, he launched at me. I sidestepped and yelled for Yu Sanghua and Han Myungwoo to cross without me. I turned back and found Glasses Guy already sprinting across the bridge. Thanks, man. Could have at least given me 2 seconds for a dramatic hero speech. Then Kim Naiman let out a shriek, and every zombie around him surged toward me. The relentless fighting was draining me fast. Under 15 minutes left. Great. If only I had one actual combat skill. Then the system pinged. Exclusive skill. Bookmark. Triggered. A character menu appeared before me. I'd read every word of that novel and never encountered this skill. But somehow I knew by instinct exactly how to use it. I shouted, activate bookmark 1. The next second I had Kim Naiman's blackening skill. Active for 60 seconds. He came for me again. Like a predator in the dark, I struck, and one-shot him. When the skill wore off, I was completely spent. With hundreds of zombies converging, I had nothing left to fight with. Then an explosion ripped through the zombie horde from the rear, and a cold-faced man carved his way through. The man was the novel's true protagonist, the regressor with countless exclusive skills. Yu Jung-heek. Even with my God Reader cheat, my heart was pounding, because what I was about to face was the novel's main character, a man who would do anything to survive. I braced for this mentally, but the crushing pressure of actually standing in front of him made every hair on my body stand up. Before I could speak, Yu Jung-heek grabbed me by the throat. Why aren't you dead? As a professional player of this death game, Yu Jung-heek was on his 3rd regression. He knew Car 3708 had exactly 2 survivors, Kim Naiman and Li Haiyanxiang. And yet here I was. He activated his exclusive skill, Sage's Eye, an SS-class detection skill that could read anyone's information. Then the system alerted me. Exclusive skill, 4th wall, triggered. A flash of golden light detonated in front of Yu Jung-heek's face, completely blocking the Sage's Eye. He was stunned. 3 full regressions, and this had never happened. He tagged me as extreme danger, looking into those murder-intent eyes, completely blocking the Sage's Eye. He was stunned. 3 full regressions, and this had never happened. He tagged me as extreme danger, looking into those murder-intent eyes. I immediately told him I had the ability to see the future, and could help him clear the 46th scenario, the one he couldn't pass. I was betting on that leverage to keep him from killing me. He dragged me across the light bridge, just when I thought I might actually live through this. He suddenly said, "Since you claim to be a prophet, you should know your own future." He put his foot on my chest and shoved me to the bridge's edge. "Guess whether I'll drop you." I knew this man better than anyone alive. I smiled and said, "Let go of me, you absolute bastard." Sure enough, the next second he released his grip, and watched me fall slowly toward the sea dragon's open jaws. Yu Jung-heek smiled coldly from above. "Now I believe you. You really are a prophet." Luckily, the sea dragon didn't crunch me. Instead, I slid down its throat into its stomach. According to the novel, the dragon would begin secreting stomach acid in 2.5 hours. I had to escape before then. Right on cue, the creature appeared before me. I'd expected this. The mission description had said failure? 3 question marks. Whatever this was, it wasn't here to finish me off. Sure enough, it spoke. "Pay me 5,100 gold and I'll spare your life." I rolled my eyes. "You calculated that perfectly, didn't you? That's literally every coin I have." I said, "You won't kill me, will you? I'm something worth keeping around in this death game." The creature's name was Dakibi. "How does a mortal know my name?" I whispered, "Turn off your broadcast channel. Then I'll tell you." To find out why he cut the feed. Before he could ask anything, I cut him off. How I know doesn't matter. What matters is, do you want to become king of the Dakibis? Sign a contract with me. I'll make you the most powerful broadcaster in the universe. At that, Takibi's eyes lit up, then immediately burst into derisive laughter. A mere mortal making promises like that? He wasn't even a constellation. He flat out refused, but I clarified. I wasn't asking for his power. I was asking for an exclusive broadcast contract with his channel. A broadcast contract, normally signed between a Dakibi and a constellation. The constellations use the channel for entertainment. The Dakibi takes a cut of their coins as a fee. He looked contemptuous. You don't even have a backer star. You think a nobody like you gets to propose a broadcast contract? Say another word and I'll suffocate you right here. I told him. Having no backer star was precisely my greatest value. Constellations came in two types. Those drifting between channels looking for entertainment, and those seeking avatars for roleplay. To become a famous broadcaster, you had to satisfy one of those two. But imagine, an avatar signed to no constellation, one who demonstrates ability that exceeds every other avatar. He was completely hooked, even if he didn't want to admit it. If that were real, the broadcast effect would be absolutely explosive. Sure enough, the channel was already deluged. Constellations flooding in, demanding Dakibi go live again. Their curiosity about me had reached a fever pitch. I wasn't just holding my own against a regressor. I was claiming to see the future. Dakibi scrambled to please the major constellations. Apologies, honored viewers, server trouble. Wasn't intentional, I promise. I pressed him further. Do what I said, and I guarantee you'll sit on that throne. While Dakibi waited, a hidden mission triggered. Kill the sea dragon and escape. Failure, death. This was my chance to prove my value. I immediately opened the Dakibi shop and bought what I needed. 4 iron spikes and 4 packs of sea horse leaf extract, named for its chemical properties. Dakibi didn't think I'd make it out alive. He dropped a good luck and vanished. I set to work immediately. 1 spike at every acid duct. For days past, the sea dragon was very, very dead. When Dakibi returned to the dragon's stomach, what he found broke him completely. You're incredible. This was a mission no one should have survived. No one would ever know how I'd endured those 4 days. My performance earned me generous tips from multiple constellations. I collapsed on the ground, utterly spent. At least I was alive. Dakibi examined the spikes. I had used the seahorse leaf's chemical properties to neutralize the stomach acid, and plugged every acid duct with the spikes, grinding the dragon to death from the inside. Dakibi inserted a quick ad into the broadcast, and finally made up his mind to sign the contract with me. The contract looked official, but nowhere did it specify how broadcast revenue would be split. Clearly I'd spotted the loophole. Dakibi was sweating now. See the tips from the channel? 50-50? I wasn't buying that. I turned the tables completely. The transaction fees from the constellations alone are worth a fortune. So as for tips, 10% to you, 0 to me. Clearly I'd spotted the loophole. Dakibi was sweating now. See the tips from the channel? 50-50? I wasn't buying that. I turned the tables completely. The transaction fees from the constellations alone are worth a fortune. So as for tips, 10% to you, 0 to me. Turned out even a Dakibi's interference could be blocked. I was thrilled. Nobody could see my attribute window. That made operating in the shadows much easier going forward. Shortly after, I entered the second main quest zone. The moment I stepped in, a toxic fog rolled over me. The real game was finally starting. The city was heavily contaminated. Dakibi traps everywhere. Shortly after, I entered the second main quest zone. The moment I stepped in, a toxic fog rolled over me. The real game was finally starting. The city was heavily contaminated. Dakibi traps everywhere. I had to gather supplies fast. And on the way, I pulled a poisoned woman from the ground. Zhang Hui-1. Not out of saintly sympathy. I'd seen her character info. Her exclusive attribute. Infiltrator. In the novel, it was one of the rarest hyper-evolution attributes. She could become a critical ally in clearing this game. We sprinted together until we reached the nearest subway station. Inside, Li Haiyanxiang and the others. We'd barely exchanged words when a group of armed survivors surrounded us. Han Myung-woo, the traitor, was already moving to drive me out. Then the group's leader stepped forward. A man called Cheon In-ho, addressing the crowd warmly. This brave newcomer brought us food. Welcome. He genuinely invited me to join their organization. With great power comes great responsibility. He looked perfectly civilized on the surface. Behind it, a ruthless manipulator to his core. He used moral pressure like a scalpel. I wasn't a charity. I declined directly. The crowd turned on me immediately under his influence. You're really going to hoard all the food yourself? I knew every one of these survivors had done terrible things to make it out of the first scenario. I had no intention of feeling sorry for them. And Cheon In-ho was using exactly that to put me in a corner. Don't share, be the villain. Share, compromise our own supplies and be forced to join him. I wasn't going to let his scheme work. I announced that of course I'd share. but one bag of food cost 50 gold coins. The woman I just rescued, Zhang Hui-1, immediately stood up and said she wouldn't take anything for free. Then she looked at the crowd. This person risked their life for these supplies. You're not planning to just take it, are you? The station was split into two factions. Cheon In-ho's mainstream group controlled the food. The other was the weak and elderly, survivors on the margins, forced to do dangerous reconnaissance outside for scraps. With Zhang Huan's example, the crowd rallied behind her logic, and within a day, everything had been sold out. Half of it had gone to Cheon In-ho's group at full price. Then Cheon In-ho made his next move, stirring the crowd again. Prove your value or pay 200 gold for food. That's what Mr. Gold Coin here taught me. The crowd wheeled back toward me. That's when I realized why these people had been so easy to manipulate. Cheon In-ho had an incitement skill, but it didn't matter now. I'd already sold everything, and the second main mission was about to begin. When it did, every food item would disappear. Sure enough, a bolt of lightning detonated inside the station, but it wasn't Dakibi who emerged. It was a pitch-black figure. Call him Black Dakibi. The one who ran this channel got penalized. I'm in charge now. Another snap of fingers, and every food item in the station vanished. The last guy let you all live too comfortably. Starting now, the difficulty goes up. New mission windows appeared before everyone, and every food item in the station vanished. The last guy let you all live too comfortably. Starting now, the difficulty goes up. New mission windows appeared before everyone, and every food item in the station vanished. The last guy let you all live too comfortably. Starting now, the difficulty goes up. New mission windows appeared before everyone. New survival fee. Every person must submit 100 gold per day. Non-payment results in execution. I smirked. This is what the game really looks like. To stay alive, we'd have to hunt. And Han Myung-woo, the traitor, was assigned to our hunting team. We decided to explore the subway tunnels, where Lee Gil-yong's abilities finally proved their worth. His attribute, Insect Collector. Through communication with insects, he could read the surrounding area. The cockroach relayed that the next 100 steps were clear, where Lee Gil-yong's abilities finally proved their worth. His attribute, Insect Collector. Through communication with insects, he could read the surrounding area. The cockroach relayed that the next 100 steps were clear. We hadn't gone far when a new subquest arrived. Obtain food. Personally hunt and cook a monster. Reward, 500 gold. The tunnels ahead were carpeted in monster corpses. I stared at them with growing unease. The game had barely started, and that other person was already taking down tier 9 creatures. We fashioned some crude weapons from the bones, and I told everyone to keep just enough gold for the survival fee, and put the rest into upgrading their physical stats. The game had barely started, and that other person was already taking down tier 9 creatures. We fashioned some crude weapons from the bones, and I told everyone to keep just enough gold for the survival fee, and put the rest into upgrading their physical stats. Then the real hunt began. Li Haiyanseong cut down a rushing creature. Everyone was fighting for their own survival, swinging whatever they had. The hunt was going more smoothly than I'd expected, until one creature launched itself out of the darkness, and dragged Han Myung-woo screaming into the depths. Yu Sang-hwa sprinted to help, and was dragged after him. Both vanished into the black. We decided. Li Haiyanseong and Zhang Hui-1 hold position. Lee Gil-yong and I go in. With Gil-yong's multi-species communication skills, we moved through the pitch-black cave without getting lost. Hyung, you let that creature drag them in on purpose, didn't you? I didn't hide it. I had, because that creature had a hoarding habit, but the cache could only be reached by following the tunnel it dug. And I was only there for what was inside. Were you disappointed? Gil-yong squeezed my hand. I trust you, Hyung. If you weren't that kind of person, you wouldn't have saved me on the subway. Then he whispered, Hyung, are you a god? Or maybe the protagonist? I was stunned. He was far more perceptive than I'd imagined. Are you? I didn't answer. He didn't press. He just turned and kept leading the way quietly. Before long we reached the creature's den. A cluster of them were curled protectively around a treasure chest. From the other side came the sound of Han Myung-woo and Yu Sang-hwa arguing. Apparently Han Myung-woo had abandoned his multi-million-dollar sports car, and stolen Sang-hwa's bicycle to take the subway instead, and was now somehow blaming her for his situation. I couldn't listen to another second. I yanked out a spike and hurled it at the rock above his head, not to hurt him but to trigger the dungeon's boss. Cracks spread across the wall, and a necromancer burst through the stone, robes billowing. Everyone received a new mission prompt. Subquest updated. Drive out the Dark Guardian. I pulled Yu Sang-hwa and Han Myung-woo free, and shoved them to a safe distance. The demon was a category unlike any other monster, far more powerful than anything else at its tier. Under normal circumstances I'd never engage one willingly, but then a wave of consuming dread crashed through my entire body. My exclusive skill. Fourth wall triggered instantly, absorbing most of the terror. The Dark Guardian, seeing I could resist its technique, grew excited, and started jabbering. Yu Sangwa's translation skill activated. It's calling you, Mama. And it was pointing at Han Myung-woo, calling him Papa. I rolled my eyes. Before I could process the absurdity, a tentacle shot from behind the Guardian and plunged into Han Myung-woo's throat. It was trying to implant its offspring into another species. I rushed forward and cleaved the tentacle in half. The enraged Guardian entered full berserk, swinging 7 or 8 tentacles at me from every angle. My weapon shattered under the barrage. All I could do was keep moving. This fight was unwinnable, but I had a contingency. I shouted at the ceiling, "Dakibi, are you watching? Get out here." Black Dakibi materialized. "How did you know I was watching?" I skipped all preamble and demanded he send me Dakibi's package. He said it wasn't his problem, belonged to the other Dakibi. A chorus of outrage erupted from the watching constellations. "You took over the channel, you take over the responsibilities." Black Dakibi, sweating under the barrage of disapproval, reluctantly handed over the package. This was what I traded from the Sea Dragon's inner materials, auctioned through the Dakibi marketplace. A bolt of thunder cracked in my palm, and a sword named the Shattered Conviction appeared. Black Dakibi laughed. "You plan to fight with that broken junk?" What he didn't know was that I'd also purchased a Nebula-class enhancement catalyst from Dakibi. Steel energy condensed at the break point, and the Shattered Conviction responded, its power erupting. "Blade of Conviction, activate." Black Dakibi laughed. "You plan to fight with that broken junk?" What he didn't know was that I'd also purchased a Nebula-class enhancement catalyst from Dakibi. Steel energy condensed at the break point, and the Shattered Conviction responded, its power erupting. "Blade of Conviction, activate." Black Dakibi laughed. "You plan to fight with that broken junk?" What he didn't know was that I'd also purchased a Nebula-class enhancement catalyst from Dakibi. Steel energy condensed at the break point, and the Shattered Conviction responded, its power erupting. "Blade of Conviction, activate." Black Dakibi laughed. "You plan to fight with that broken junk?" What he didn't know was that I'd also purchased a Nebula-class enhancement catalyst from Dakibi. Steel energy condensed at the break point, and the Shattered Conviction responded, its power erupting. "Blade of Conviction, activate." Even with a legendary weapon, I was still no match for the demon. In this world, a great sword didn't make you a swordsman. And without any backer star's augmentation, just wielding this blade was already straining me to my limit. But in this novel's world, I was the only reader. So a reader would fight in a reader's way. I activated Bookmark 2, representing Li Haiyan-seong, granting use of his exclusive skill, Weapon Mastery, for 60 seconds. I charged the Dark Guardian. With the skill active, every swing of the sword severed another tentacle. My final blow nearly cut the Guardian clean in half. Every constellation watching the broadcast went wide-eyed, taking out a dungeon boss to half health this early in the game. Tips flooded in, 100 gold coins each. Even Black Dakibi was speechless. Where did Dakibi find someone like this? I told him to issue the mission rewards and stop stalling. He asked, "You're not going to finish the Guardian off? It's worth at least 7,000 gold. I replied that I didn't kill. Not naivety. I knew that every demon in this world was a subordinate of the demon gods. Kill one, and the demon god would hunt you without end. Then Han Myung-woo grabbed a blade and stabbed the Guardian through. He threw his head back laughing. "Oh, so the genius didn't think of that? Now I get to be strong too." A voice rang through the heavens. "Dark Guardian killed. The demon god of wrath and desire has sensed the killer's existence. Han Myung-woo will be hunted by the demon god for eternity, and cursed to see his greatest fear made real." Gil-yong looked at me with utter reverence. We moved to the treasure chest. 3 items inside: a mana recovery gauntlet, an old iron shield, and a magical cooking stove. The mission complete. But the real prize in this dungeon was the chest itself. Put any low-tier item in and a higher-tier item would emerge. I placed the Shattered Conviction inside. A purple light erupted from the chest, and the broken sword restored itself before our eyes. Unbroken Conviction, Star Rank Relic. Raises user's physical stats and strength by 2 tiers. With this, cutting through monsters would be easy. We prepared to head back, but Gil-yong reported no insects in the area. Without insect scouts in these lightless tunnels, getting lost was a real danger, and ambushes even more so. While we were figuring out what to do, Gil-yong suddenly closed his eyes and started murmuring. Above the ground, a huge praying mantis stirred, moving toward the cave entrance. I recognized what was happening and immediately stopped him. "Not yet. Call that thing down now and we're all buried alive." Just then Yu Sangwa stepped forward. "I can lead us out." Her thread-finding skill, connecting start to finish through any space. With her guiding us, we made it back to the tracks. Then a golden flash erupted. Did anyone miss me? Dakibi was out of his timeout and checking his channel. I gave Li Haiyan-seong the iron shield, another notch up for our team's defense, and the gesture earned me a flicker of genuine loyalty from him. Then a golden flash erupted. Did anyone miss me? Dakibi was out of his timeout and checking his channel. I gave Li Haiyan-seong the iron shield, another notch up for our team's defense, and the gesture earned me a flicker of genuine loyalty from him. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. With under 20 minutes until the next survival fee, people were growing desperate. Cheon In-ho walked into the crowd and fired up his incitement skill again. Mr. Goldcoin here surely has the most. You really won't help. Annihilator of Evil, the most powerful of the 3 judge types. I hadn't seen that coming. She told me to step back. She'd handle the rest herself. She closed her eyes, activated the judgment, and a scale materialized around her. Judgment moment, active. The surrounding enemies were obliterated in seconds. By the time Cheon In-ho turned around, Zhang Huiwen was already standing in front of him with her ancient sword, and ended it with one clean stroke. As Cheon In-ho fell, the system levied the survival fee. I helped Zhang Huiwen to her feet. That's what this world is. We do what we have to live. The next day we prepared to leave. Zhang Huiwen asked the remaining survivors if they wanted to come. After surviving yesterday's trial, they'd each found their own footing. They declined with thanks. We didn't push. We moved out for the next station. Before we'd gone far, I received a transfer from Zhang Huiwen. 1,500 gold. After surviving yesterday's trial, they'd each found their own footing. They declined with thanks. We didn't push. We moved out for the next station. Before we'd gone far, I received a transfer from Zhang Huiwen. 1,500 gold. She laughed and said she'd killed so many last night. There was plenty to go around. Everyone got a share. I now had 20,000 gold. I spent 4,400 upgrading key attributes. Then the second main mission arrived. Cross the tunnel, meet survivors at the first stronghold. Reward, 500 gold. Wave after wave of creatures stood in our way. By the time we broke through, everyone was exhausted. I told them to rest while I went above ground. Based on the novel, I knew a critical item was hidden somewhere here. I found a stone statue, ran at it, and split it in half with one strike. Statues in this world sealed the power and items of constellations. Break the seal, take what's inside. I redistributed the items to the team back at the station. Now each of us had at least one personal item. We pushed on for the next stop, when a new subquest appeared. Phantom Prison. Activated. I redistributed the items to the team back at the station. Now each of us had at least one personal item. We pushed on for the next stop, when a new subquest appeared. Phantom Prison. Activated. Before anyone could react, a cold gust swept through us. When I opened my eyes, I saw my mother, dead for years. I knew immediately it was an illusion. I triggered fourth wall, her image shattered. I called for everyone to breathe deeply, but too late. They'd all fallen into the phantom. Only Yu Sanghua, protected by her prayer beads, was unaffected. I had her watch the perimeter while I used the technique I'd gotten from the statue. Destruction, and dispelled the phantom prison effect. Just as it cleared, Zhang Huiwen lunged at me with her sword, crimson eyes on the edge of possession. I had no choice but to knock her unconscious. Then dozens of level 8 phantom spirits blocked the path ahead. But they weren't hard to handle. Without much trouble I cleared them all. Everyone came back to their senses. Just as the destination was almost in sight, a woman stepped into our path. "Don't you know this is my hunting ground?" She was Li Jiahai, sole survivor of Typhoon Girls High School. A major character in the novel's world. Her stat panel was frightening. Her backer star, the legendary Sea Admiral. When she learned we'd cleared all the phantom spirits, she offered to lead us to the survivor stronghold herself. We arrived. A drunk immediately fixated on our gold, and then on Yu Sanghua. Li Jiahai drew her blade. "Want to die? Then get out." She left us to settle in and turned to go. But I caught her before she could and asked if Yu Junghik was here. Something flickered behind Li Jiahai's eyes. She asked who I was. I said I was Yu Junghik's companion. She told me, "Master isn't here," and walked away, too late to charm her into joining our team. Then a small figure approached. "Are you really friends with Mr. Yu Junghik?" 3 days ago, Yu Junghik had saved a group of people from monsters. They'd become his followers. Li Jiahai ran the hunting. Yu Junghik fed the survivors. And water? You paid for it, gold or food, from the Landlord Alliance. The Landlord Alliance was run by one of the novel's top 10 villains, Kong Pito, whose exclusive attributes, landlord and landowner, let him thrive in this new world. Any area he occupied fell under his system protections. Right now he'd surrounded himself with toilets and was charging people to use them. Li Gilyong needed to go, squeezed in, and accidentally tripped into the territory. System alert. Li Gilyong has trespassed on private property. For Gatling guns materialized out of nowhere, all locked on him. Pay the territory owner 500 gold immediately, or all guns will open fire. System alert. Li Gilyong has trespassed on private property. For Gatling guns materialized out of nowhere, all locked on him. Pay the territory owner 500 gold immediately, or all guns will open fire. System alert. Li Gilyong has trespassed on private property. For Gatling guns materialized out of nowhere, all locked on him. Pay the territory owner 500 gold immediately, or all guns will open fire. I stepped in before Zhang Huiwen could react, announced I'd pay personally, and walked into the territory calling Kong Pito's name. A man flipping through a magazine on a sofa finally spoke. New face, and some nerve. He was intrigued. I could see his attribute panel, undeniably one of the novel's top 10 antagonists. I proposed renting the green zone. Kong Pito said the Alliance didn't take outsiders. So I dangled bait. 500 gold a day, and I have intelligence on Yu Junghik. His expression changed at that name. He demanded to know my relationship with Yu Junghik. I told him we were allies with a bond forged in life and death. He didn't believe a word, and activated his exclusive skill, Loss and Gain Calculator, which immediately told him someone who looked like me would most likely flee. I shrugged and turned to leave. The next second he called me back. "The 1,000 gold penalty. You still owe that. Where do you think you're going?" I said that was too much. I shrugged and turned to leave. The next second he called me back. "The 1,000 gold penalty. You still owe that. Where do you think you're going?" I said that was too much. He activated all 4 Gatlings immediately. Fire everywhere. Li Haianxiang's shield blocked it in time. Left with no option, I warned him, "Keep this up, and you'll die in this station." He didn't understand what I meant, but I knew because that man had already arrived. When a fictional protagonist meets a real one, Yu Junghik looked genuinely surprised to see me here. I greeted him like an old friend I hadn't seen in years. "Hey Junghik. Long time no see." The next second Yu Junghik drew his weapon, but pointed it not at me. Kong Pito. Under that pressure, Kong Pito had no choice but to let us go. Yu Junghik went stone-faced, said it was irrelevant to him. I checked his full profile. His every skill was growing at visible speed. True protagonist energy. He caught me staring and asked if I had something to say. I had nothing to say. I was just annoyed by him. He was just as annoyed by me. I wasn't showing him the deference that every other survivor offered, and that bothered him deeply. Then Zhang Huiwen stirred awake. Yu Junghik immediately activated his Sage's Eye to check our team's attributes. When he saw Li Haiyanxiang's stats, he looked disappointed. Such a strong tank, and following you, he's only at this level. I had no response to that. I'm just a regular reader, not some protagonist with a built-in halo. But when he checked Zhang Huiyuan, his pupils contracted sharply. She was the annihilator of evil. He hadn't expected someone this powerful to be traveling with me. Zhang Huiyuan felt his gaze and snapped. What are you staring at? I gave her a mental standing ovation. Then I asked Yu Junghik why he was ignoring Kong Pido's behavior, just letting him run amok in here. He said it was none of his concern. I nearly asked if I could punch him for that. Yu Junghik said calmly, "Go ahead," while quietly activating his defensive aura. I was just talking. I wasn't suicidal enough to actually hit the main character. The third mission opening was under 2.5 hours away. A week into the scenario, Yu Junghik had almost certainly collected powerful items from other dungeons. While I was running calculations, Zhang Huiyuan came over and smiled. You looked a little scared of Junghik just now. I laughed it off awkwardly and changed the subject, talking about dealing with Kong Pido. Zhang Huiyuan immediately triggered judgment moment, ready to properly audit the man hoarding public resources. Then it automatically cancelled. I explained, the Constellation's definition of good and evil wasn't the same as ours, and he was legitimately using his exclusive skill. But the method to beat him was simple. Get him out of his armed territory. Outside it, his skill fails. Just needed the right moment. Then Dakibi appeared to announce the third main mission. Claim a green zone. Those who don't claim one before nightfall will face something terrible. Mission duration: 7 days. The entire station erupted into violence. Yu Sanghua stared in horror and asked if we'd have to fight like this too. I told her not to worry, we just needed to find a room that could fit 5 people. We split up to search. If no one found anything in 20 minutes, reconvene. But I already knew this was futile. The novel's original text had a red note. No spare rooms here, so they'd have to compete for green zones with everyone else. I was staring at the novel's page when Dakibi materialized. We split up to search. If no one found anything in 20 minutes, reconvene. But I already knew this was futile. The novel's original text had a red note. No spare rooms here, so they'd have to compete for green zones with everyone else. I was staring at the novel's page when Dakibi materialized. Relaxed, are we, uncle? Feeling brave. I laughed and said surviving didn't require claiming a green zone. Li Jiahai's eyes went wide. You're like master? Before she could ask more, Yu Junghik appeared behind her and told her to get back to their room. Then he looked at me and said, You're planning to fight the monsters alone? You'll die. I shrugged. That's none of your business. Our group reformed, nobody had found a single room. I told them there were 2 options. The first was to take the room that held 5 people, which meant killing the people already in it. The group's faces fell. They knew exactly what that meant. Zhang Huiyuan stepped forward. Last time I killed a lot of people. But that doesn't mean I want to be a monster. The others agreed, second option. I smiled. Whatever you choose, I'll respect it. Then we do this the other way, but you must follow everything I say exactly. Otherwise we die. 5 minutes until launch. Monsters would spawn on the left side of the tunnel, then sweep the entire station. Fighting in the open meant certain death. My plan was unconventional, but I told Li Haiyanxiang and 2 others exactly one thing. The moment the monsters appeared, run toward them. The scenario launched. Monsters flooded in from the left. I screamed, Now! The 3 of them didn't hesitate. They bolted straight into the horde. In the last instant before contact, a green zone erupted from the left wall, room for 3. The instant they touched the light, a system notice rang out. Someone has activated the Namdimun Station hidden function. Brave Warriors Sanctuary. Open. Yu Sanghua and Zhang Huiyuan made it inside. Li Haiyanxiang was surrounded by monsters, but Sanghua's thread skill pulled him in just in time. These hidden zones only appeared after a mission started. With all 3 safe, I sprinted in the other direction, carrying Gil Yong on my back. Another hidden green zone was nearby, but the creatures caught up to us fast. And Dakibi chose this exact moment to raise the difficulty, shrinking the available green zones. Several unlucky survivors were swallowed in an instant. I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Junghik managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Junghik managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Junghik managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Junghik managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Junghik managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Jung-heek managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Jung-heek managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Jung-heek managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I recalled the novel's plot. Yu Jung-heek managed to hold out until dawn in exactly this situation. If I spent everything on stats, could I do the same? I leaped for it with everything I had, and froze when I landed. The green zone already held Yu Jung-heek. Monsters were nearly on me. I threw Gil-yong toward the zone and begged Yu Jung-heek to take him in, then turned to fight the horde alone. He called out, "I told you you'd die." I looked back and smiled. I promised I wouldn't. The words barely left my mouth before the monster wave swallowed me. Gil-yong screamed my name and lunged for the barrier. Yu Jung-heek watched, baffled. Then a pulse of light blazed from the monster mass. The system announced, "Phantom Prison activated." I had absorbed the Star Spirit Stones from the Phantom Spirits killed earlier. For a brief window I could become a phantom, invisible to monsters. Side effect: psychological trauma and mental instability. Fourth wall absorbed most of it. But then a golden-haired woman appeared behind me. Her profile panel made me catch my breath. The seer, Anna Couplet. Ability, precognitive vision. And she could bypass spatial barriers to enter anyone's consciousness. She was looking for Yu Jung-heek, but found me instead. She asked who I was. I told her I was also a seer. She activated her lie detection skill. Result? False. Very embarrassing. A real seer sees through it immediately. Just as she was about to ask my name again, fourth wall recovered, and she was gradually expelled from my consciousness. I waved and called out, "We'll meet on that continent." Don't worry. When fourth wall fully restored, I collapsed on the ground. Already mentally drained, and then Anna on top of it. Terrible luck. I hoped the others were all right. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying in the station. Everyone was gathered around calling my name. The mission was over. Everyone had survived. I immediately asked where Gil-yong was, and found him not far away, talking to Yu Jung-heek. Apparently Yu Jung-heek had offered to take him along, promising to make him stronger. Lee Gil-yong had told him no. Wherever this went, he was staying. Yu Jung-heek turned and glared at me, as if to say, "Where did this person find so many talented companions?" Then Gil-yong noticed I was awake, and sprinted across the room and threw himself into my arms. Yu Jung-heek turned and glared at me, as if to say, "Where did this person find so many talented companions?" Then Gil-yong noticed I was awake, and sprinted across the room and threw himself into my arms. That scene made Yu Jung-heek visibly sour. Since the apocalyptic novel arrived, countless people had died, and countless others had been reborn in the disaster. Not only were they receiving patronage from cosmic entities, they were awakening to extraordinary exclusive skills. And one particular bald man had become a landlord in the apocalypse, leveraging his landlord and landowner skills to occupy enormous swaths of public resources. Every zone he claimed fell under his arm skills protection. This was making survivors' lives miserable. With the second day's mission approaching, I decided before dark, I had to end this main task completely, which meant evicting Kong Pido. But first I needed to check my team's combat power. According to the novel, Li Haiyanxiang's attribute evolution should have triggered last battle, but Zhang Huiwen had beaten him to the Annihilator of Evil upgrade. Li Haiyanxiang was a soldier, facing this kind of apocalypse. Had to be weighing on him badly. I consulted Yu Sanghua and the others. We needed to help him find his footing again. I walked up to Li Haiyanxiang first and said, "We've made it this far thanks to you, being protected by your shield." That made me feel genuinely safe. He scratched his head and smiled shyly. Really? Those words lit something in him. Then cheerleader 2, Zhang Huiwen, stepped up and compared him to a steady pine tree. Li Haiyanxiang said, completely straight-faced, that his favorite army song was literally called The Pine. Cheerleader 3, Yu Sangwa's gentle words bolstered him further. Finally, little Gil-yong stepped up, and just directly complimented Li Haiyanxiang's muscles. That last bit of flattery pushed his confidence over the edge. Hard to believe such hollow praise worked this well. Now Li Haiyanxiang just needed the right moment for his attribute evolution. I went down to the lower level and found Li Jai-hai. I asked her to help us take down Kong Pido, otherwise everyone here would die. She wasn't moved, said these people would die eventually anyway. But I knew that behind her cold act was a different truth. So I dropped one line. If you ignore my request today, You will regret it for the rest of your life. Li Jiahai crouched there in silence. Evening came. We split up as planned. Zhang Huiwen took Sanghua and Gil Yong to the Line 4 platform. Li Haiyanxiang and I went to find the Landlord Alliance. At the entrance, a group of men had a woman cornered. The sense of justice in Li Haiyanxiang ignited. I knew this was his evolution moment. I immediately spent thousands of gold boosting my own stats. Then, covered by Li Haiyanxiang's shield, launched at the ringleader, and removed one arm. The territorial battle began. We ran for Kong Pido's room. A crowd surged to intercept. Li Haiyanxiang activated his skill, Mountain Thrust, absorbing the entire charge in one instant. I burst through into Kong Pido's territory. He activated his skill, Armed Positioning. For Gatlings materialized and locked on. Li Haiyanxiang hurled his shield to me. I braced it against the fire and walked forward step by step. Kong Pido smiled and stood. Ah, the arrogant tenant has come to visit. I told him I was done being a tenant. He was about to unleash another barrage, when a subordinate came sprinting in. Boss, all our zones. Gone. I looked at Li Haiyanxiang. Now, all of them, smash everything. Li Haiyanxiang stared at his own hands. He squeezed. A column of golden light erupted around him. This was the moment I'd been building toward, his attribute purification. One of my favorite scenes in the novel, and now I was watching it happen in person. Golden wings unfolded behind his back. The system announced, Li Haiyanxiang, attribute purification complete. New heart skill unlocked. He didn't hesitate. Activated. Divine Hammer. His right hand grew massive. He brought it down. The entire second floor started to collapse. He didn't hesitate. Activated. Divine Hammer. His right hand grew massive. He brought it down. The entire second floor started to collapse. Kong Pido's private territory has been destroyed. Kong Pido's whole operation was buried under rubble. I walked up to him. Good. Let's return to the days without private territories. Zhang Huiwen and the others arrived. They'd gone around clearing all the smaller green zones too, and Li Jiahai, won over by my one line, had demolished all the 5 to 8 person zones as well. But this move drew immediate backlash. Every other Dakibi broadcaster and constellation on the same channel issued a bounty. Eliminate this individual within 10 minutes. Reward, 2,000 gold. Li Jiahai immediately ran. Don't look at me. I'm done helping. I'd anticipated all of this, and I wasn't worried, because these people weren't going to have time to worry about collecting my bounty. Right on schedule. System announcement. All green zones in the station have been destroyed. Main quest system override. Difficulty recalibrated based on remaining conditions. New mission. Emergency defense. All previously queued monsters appear simultaneously. Survive until time runs out. Some survivors were swallowed before they could react. Others bolted for the stairs, only to find us blocking the way. With no green zones left anywhere in the station, hiding was useless. The monsters would find you anywhere. To cut off any false hope, I sliced the entire staircase in half, and told the crowd, there is one way to survive. Everyone fights together. They still didn't believe it. I activated Bookmark 3, representing Chion Inho, and unleashed the incitement skill myself. The biggest trap in this scenario was the green zones. If everyone abandons them, the system can only generate a number of monsters we can actually handle. I looked at Kong Pido. Unless you want to die, get moving. You're this village's last hope. Under that motivation, Kong Pido didn't argue. He deployed his armed territory and set the Gatlings. Within minutes, the perimeter was locked down. With the Gatlings suppressing the horde, the creatures couldn't break through. We all exhaled. Kong Pido's skill was genuinely impressive. Finally, a moment to breathe, and he kept upgrading through the fight, eventually unlocking a new skill, Fortification Wall. Unexpected, his backer star had come through for him. Li Jiahai, watching Kong Pido get progressively stronger, burst out laughing. I asked her what time Yu Junghik had entered the hidden dungeon. She reflexively answered, 9 in the morning. Then, wait, how did you know Master went to the hidden dungeon? Unexpected, his backer star had come through for him. Li Jiahai, watching Kong Pido get progressively stronger, burst out laughing. I asked her what time Yu Junghik had entered the hidden dungeon. She reflexively answered, 9 in the morning. Then, wait, how did you know Master went to the hidden dungeon? I didn't respond, but I was already worried. Yu Junghik had been in that dungeon for 11 hours. I had to act. I had Dakibi open the Dakibi bag, spent 10,000 gold on a backer contract, and 5,000 more on 10 mana restoration potions. Now wait for the moment. Before long, Kong Pido's backer star started reaching out to other constellations. His gold was nearly gone. I stepped forward. You're just going to die here? Or sign a contract with me? I'm not a constellation and I can't be a backer star, but I can be your backer patron, and I'll sponsor you with all these mana potions. Kong Pido's backer star defense master was furious. Dakibi was stunned. He'd never seen a human try to sponsor a constellation. But defense master faced a reality. He was an obscure constellation. If his avatar Kong Pido died, his legend would die with him. A constellation without legend couldn't earn gold, couldn't sign backer contracts, couldn't create new avatars. With no avatar to spread his name, he would eventually be forgotten and fade out of existence. Faced with that prospect, Defense Master agreed. The contract had 2 new clauses added. I guaranteed Kong Pedo's survival. And there was a third clause, the most important, that would secure my long-term income source. I signed with Defense Master. Dakibi stared open-mouthed, witnessing a contract between a low-rank human and a high-tier divine entity. The contract had 2 new clauses added. I guaranteed Kong Pedo's survival. And there was a third clause, the most important, that would secure my long-term income source. I signed with Defense Master. Dakibi stared open-mouthed, witnessing a contract between a low-rank human and a high-tier divine entity. The contract had 2 new clauses added. I guaranteed Kong Pedo's survival. And there was a third clause, the most important, that would secure my long-term income source. I signed with Defense Master. Dakibi stared open-mouthed, witnessing a contract between a low-rank human and a high-tier divine entity. The contract had 2 new clauses added. I guaranteed Kong Pedo's survival. And there was a third clause, the most important, that would secure my long-term income source. I signed with Defense Master. Dakibi stared open-mouthed, witnessing a contract between a low-rank human and a high-tier divine entity. According to the novel, Yu Jung-heek ran this particular dungeon 8 times total, failing twice, succeeding 6. The failures came on his 8th and 11th regressions. But this was his 3rd regression. He had no business surviving. I had to go. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai-hai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. I brought Li Jai with me. We crossed through the dungeon entrance into another world. System prompt. Mission activated. Eliminate the dungeon's master. Reward. 4,000 gold. The moment we arrived, bullets filled the air. This was a film based on the historical naval battle of Myeongyang. Win the battle, clear the mission. But I immediately saw something wrong. Where the film should have had 13 warships, only one remained. The male lead was also missing. The dungeon master had rewritten the script. We had to win this battle without the film's protagonist. The key was Li Jai, because her backer star was the legendary Sea Admiral, Admiral Yi Sun-sin. But when I found her, she was collapsed on the deck, shaking. This film was her closest friend's favorite. All Li Jai could see was the image of the moment she'd killed that friend. Just as I was about to say something, a bounty mission triggered. Encourage Admiral Yi Sun-sin's avatar Li Jai to win this naval battle. Reward. One of Admiral Yi's heart skills. This film was her closest friend's favorite. All Li Jai could see was the image of the moment she'd killed that friend. Just as I was about to say something, a bounty mission triggered. Encourage Admiral Yi Sun-sin's avatar Li Jai to win this naval battle. Reward. One of Admiral Yi's heart skills. I was stunned. You could use a constellation skills without even signing a backer contract? Enemy fire was intensifying by the second. I grabbed a shield and started blocking, while Li Jai wept, saying she had no right to live. I said, loud and clear, a right to live, nobody has that. But since you're alive, you have a responsibility. Whether you spend the rest of your life in penance, or keep living like garbage, either way you live. So are you really going to die here? Or do you make a choice right now? That broke through. She wiped her eyes. She stood. A blood-red aura exploded from her body, and from the sea, a massive vortex opened. 12 columns of water erupted. When the water receded, 12 ghost warships materialized on the surface. Or do you make a choice right now? That broke through. She wiped her eyes. She stood. A blood-red aura exploded from her body, and from the sea, a massive vortex opened. 12 columns of water erupted. When the water receded, 12 ghost warships materialized on the surface. Or do you make a choice right now? That broke through. She wiped her eyes. She stood. A blood-red aura exploded from her body, and from the sea, a massive vortex opened. 12 columns of water erupted. When the water receded, 12 ghost warships materialized on the surface. She went at the enemy fleet like a force of nature. 7 sorties, 8 breakthroughs. In under half an hour, we won. System notification. Sea Admiral's bounty mission reward received. Gained heart skill. Song of the Blade. I stared at it. This was a technique Li Jai shouldn't have mastered until the novel was past its midpoint. As the skill entered my body, I knew, if the worst happened on floor 8, this at least gave us a fighting chance. We teleported back to the theater. I told Li Jai to rest. She'd pushed herself to the limit. The 3 of us sprinted for floor 8. I spent gold on attributes the entire way up. The dungeon's master was not going to be easy. We reached the 8th floor, the Sky Garden. Yu Jung-heek stood there alone, not doing much of anything. I approached from behind with a grin, and knocked him squarely on the back of the head. I'd been waiting to do that. He didn't react. Then I understood. The worst had happened. We reached the 8th floor, the Sky Garden. Yu Jung-heek stood there alone, not doing much of anything. I approached from behind with a grin, and knocked him squarely on the back of the head. I'd been waiting to do that. He didn't react. Then I understood. The worst had happened. He'd become the dungeon master's puppet. He looked cold-blooded externally, but inside he was uniquely fragile. The dungeon master's power was mental domination, perfectly tailored to break Yu Jung-heek specifically. Before I could formulate a plan, the puppet Yu Jung-heek launched. One punch sent me flying. Jong Hyun's eyes went red. She activated Ghost Kill. and appeared behind him in an instant. He sidestepped effortlessly. She pulled back to recalibrate. Before she could think, he was already in front of her, and launched her across the room. Li Jihai came sprinting up just in time to see it. I warned her to watch out. His fist was already at her face. She barely pulled back in time. Li Jihai stared in disbelief. Master. Why is he fighting us? I told her he's being controlled. Attack the dungeon master. She charged without hesitation. Yu Jung-heek teleported to her side and kicked her clear. Zhang Hui-1 had recovered. The two of them coordinated a two-level assault. Yu Jung-heek leaped to the space above both. Zhang Hui-1 triggered Judgment Moment. It had no effect on him. Gil-yong unleashed Thor's hammer lightning burst. A bolt of electricity screaming toward Yu Jung-heek. He blocked it with his lightning resistance. I used the moment to check his character info. He'd already activated his heart skill, Inheritance, which recalled techniques from his previous regressions, growing stronger over time. No more stalling. I drank the Tyrannosaurus DM extract I'd gotten in Jurassic World. All stats boosted to Master Tier for 30 minutes. When skills weren't enough, use raw numbers. Yu Jung-heek drew his weapon. Let's settle this, you flounderfish. No more stalling. I drank the Tyrannosaurus DM extract I'd gotten in Jurassic World. All stats boosted to Master Tier for 30 minutes. When skills weren't enough, use raw numbers. Yu Jung-heek drew his weapon. Let's settle this, you flounderfish. No more stalling. I drank the Tyrannosaurus DM extract I'd gotten in Jurassic World. All stats boosted to Master Tier for 30 minutes. When skills weren't enough, use raw numbers. Yu Jung-heek drew his weapon. Let's settle this, you flounderfish. No more stalling. I drank the Tyrannosaurus DM extract I'd gotten in Jurassic World. All stats boosted to Master Tier for 30 minutes. When skills weren't enough, use raw numbers. Yu Jung-heek drew his weapon. Let's settle this, you flounderfish. That set off something inside me. Pull yourself together, you idiot. I hit him across the cheek. But the blow wasn't what mattered. His inner voice continued. Everyone I've known. Everything I've experienced. It all disappears. I'm alone. I'm always alone. That set off something inside me. Pull yourself together, you idiot. I hit him across the cheek. But the blow wasn't what mattered. His inner voice continued. Everyone I've known. Everything I've experienced. It all disappears. I'm alone. I'm always alone. That set off something inside me. Pull yourself together, you idiot. I hit him across the cheek. But the blow wasn't what mattered. His inner voice continued. Everyone I've known. Everything I've experienced. It all disappears. I'm alone. I'm always alone. That set off something inside me. Pull yourself together, you idiot. I hit him across the cheek. But the blow wasn't what mattered. His inner voice continued. Everyone I've known. Everything I've experienced. It all disappears. I'm alone. I'm always alone. That set off something inside me. Pull yourself together, you idiot. I hit him across the cheek. But the blow wasn't what mattered. His inner voice continued. Everyone I've known. Everything I've experienced. It all disappears. I'm alone. I'm always alone. That set off something inside me. Pull yourself together, you idiot. I hit him across the cheek. But the blow wasn't what mattered. His inner voice continued. Everyone I've known. Everything I've experienced. It all disappears. I'm alone. I'm always alone. That set off something inside me. Pull yourself together, you idiot. I hit him across the cheek. But the blow wasn't what mattered. His inner voice continued. Everyone I've known. Everything I've experienced. It all disappears. I'm alone. I'm always alone. How are you alone? When I watched you die like a fool. When I saw you holding your sister. Broken with grief. When the seer betrayed you and took your life. When you went mad after your child's death. When you fought the Demon King and faced the other regressors. Every one of those moments was in the pages I read. Your life was the story, but it was also my youth. Watching you sacrifice yourself for a world that wasn't even yours. Watching you fight your way to the end. Watching you stand before the constellations no matter what. That novel, serialized for 10 years, was what kept me alive. That story kept me going. Right in the middle of that outburst, Yu Jung-heek suddenly leaped and brought his blade down hard. The ground split apart. His sword had me pinned completely, but in that moment his eyes cleared. He looked up. Who are you? I scrambled backward, barely hiding my disbelief. My words had reached him. Had he actually snapped out of it just from hearing me? The dungeon master panicked and immediately reinforced the mental control. The next second, Yu Jung-heek was blank again. See? Did you think anything was ever this easy? The name Flounderfish doesn't come for free. Yu Jung-heek came at me again. System alert. Yu Jung-heek's annihilating steel aura has evolved. Protagonist luck. Skills upgrading mid-fight. Of course they were. I activated the Unbroken Convictions fire attribute to try to suppress him. Then deployed the brand new Song of the Blade. One of the most powerful amplifying skills of the divine constellation Admiral E. Augmentation runes began converging onto the blade, and the Unbroken Conviction blazed with unprecedented power. I bellowed, and an eruption of crystalline swordlight burst from my body in every direction. By the time Yu Jung-heek reacted, the storm was already on him. He was turned into a pincushion. I seized the opening and dove for the dungeon master. Yu Jung-heek instantly used a revival skill to recover, then became a blur of motion and put himself between us. I screamed, "Gil Yong now!" On the other side, Gil Yong had finished communing with the king-class creature. A colossal mantis crashed through the dungeon's barrier and appeared before everyone. Under Gil Yong's control, it drove straight at Yu Jung-heek. He raised his sword to hold it off. I sprinted to the dungeon master. He immediately launched a mental erosion attack, attempting to seize control of me. As he thought he'd nearly succeeded, fourth wall triggered. The entire content of the novel manifested in the air around him, and I was already on top of him. His eyes went wide. Are you? I cut him off with one clean slash. System notification. First kill of Dungeon Master Virtuous Maniac. Reward, 9,000 gold. Hidden mission complete. Reward, 4,000 gold. Yu Jung-heek lost control as his puppet strings snapped. The mantis knocked him out cold. Zhang Hui-won and Li Jai-hai helped each other over. System. Third main quest. Completed. The force field above the entire city began to dissolve. Looking out at the devastated cityscape, no one had words. We didn't know how many had survived this round. Then Gil Yong suddenly pointed at the sky. A meteor shower had begun. Everyone else started making wishes. But I knew, meteor showers were a precursor to the main quest. Wherever a meteor fell, something far worse was coming. More disasters, more nightmares. And my wish? I wished I could read the ending of a certain novel.